Yes. They moved in just before Christmas and they caused a bit of a nightmare.
But just start dreaming now then, start thinking, oh, if only, what would I want out here? What would you want for you?
Just somewhere peaceful, tranquil, just natural. I don't like too many artificial things. It used to look nice.
Yeah. The last 3 or 4 years, because of our daughter, it's been neglected. So that's why it looks so bad.
Well, what would you say if I said we'll do you a bit of a makeover to try and create your dream garden and the garden that would fulfil your ideas, dreams and wishes?
Fabulous.
You're right.
Absolutely fantastic.
Go on then, let's get you right.
For the hard work to begin, we need to pack the family off for a couple of days.
Okay, bye-bye.
And get to work. Aside from that wall, there's not much I want to keep in this garden. So, starting with the pool, David Dodd and his boys strip everything out. Tackling this misshapen plot is going to be a tall order, so I've brought together my regular cohorts of hard landscaping expert David Dominy, landscape gardener Katie Rushworth, and horticulturist Francis Tophill.
Right, well, you've seen the blank canvas. It's an intriguing shape, a bit like a leg of lamb. We've got the most wonderful dry stone wall running right down that side of the garden. And this is Cumbria, where they're really keen on natural materials from the locale. I'd like to feel we could use as much of it, David, as possible.
I think we can. This top section here, the southwest area at the back of the house, it'd be nice to do a terrace. And if we use these local materials, you're quite right, give it a sort of Lake District rugged type feel.
So good Cumbrian paving there then?
Yes.
That'll sort that mole out. He won't get up through that. What I also like in here, because this is a place of crags and fells, is a rock garden.
Nice idea.
First time we've ever been able to do one. That'll be a nice challenge, won't it?
It will, yes. I'd like to get some nice generous borders in there that run throughout the garden, and also maybe thread some plants in and amongst the landscape.
And soften that hardness of
Yes.
stone. What kind of plants, Francis?
Well, my main concern is this area of shade here and at the end of the garden as well. We need to make sure we choose plants for those conditions that will cope with them. And it might mean lots of foliage plants, but actually we can get loads of colour in with that as well, so it should be fine.
This is a garden that's going to offer us a lot of challenges by its shape and also by the different kinds of bright sunshine and shade. We need to crack it. Come on.
While the team get on by laying the groundwork for the hard landscaping, I'm soaking up some of the picturesque scenery that's right on the Pines' doorstep. In nearby Silverdale, Hazelwood Farm is the perfect example of the kind of garden I want to create.
In my view, the gardens that work best are those that make the most of their local surroundings. But presented with a rock face like this, you might see it as a huge problem. I see it as an opportunity.
And so did the owners of this garden, who 30 years ago turned it from a bald and barren outcrop into a stunning example of a modern rock garden. It's been planted up with alpines, typically small or slow-growing rock plants that stand out against the limestone here in a myriad of tones and textures and provide interest throughout the year.
The secret of a good rock garden is a question of balance. So the rocks show off the plants and the plants show off the rocks. The strata, the layers of rock are here laid naturally, and we've got plants across the top of them which show off those lines, and then little pockets of things like ferns sprouting up in shady nooks and crannies, and then an eruption of diorama, the angel's fishing rod. This is a gardener's delight.
But Mother Nature can't take credit for this whole landscape.
Apart from the natural rock bank here, the garden has been added to with artificial arrangements of stone, but arranged in such a fashion that they look right. They're in tiers to allow planting pockets in between with their strata, the rocky lines running in the right direction. And you've got these lovely sloping paths to allow access for a gardener and a wheelbarrow.
And where the garden levels out, the owners have carried on the Cumbrian theme by creating a terraced area that's still true to its surroundings.
When you reach the top of the garden, the same materials are used, but in a different way. Here, it's much less craggy and dominated by rock. Larger plants are creeping in, and it really does feel like a natural piece of countryside.
Back in Ulverston, David Dominy is working to create a similar impression in two key areas of the garden. The first is to replace the scraggy lawn outside the back door with an informal paved area that blends two types of stone.
Now, I've chosen this natural paving. Just take a look at that. Natural stone there, and I think that works in really well with the dry stone walling. And in between that, I'm using this scree. It's slate scree, and apply it over the surface or match in with the paving and blend the paving into the lower parts of the garden.
The next stage is to create a rock garden in the sunniest corner of the plot between two of the dry stone walls.
Now, I've poured in this local stone here, take a look at that, and we've taken it from a quarry just over in Penrith. The secret is to put it in position to make it look as if it's been here for years and years.
So it's not just a case of dumping them down willy-nilly.
Lovely. Yeah, thank you very much.
Each rock needs to be carefully placed in relation to its neighbours, with the strata all running in the same direction.
Oh, that is lovely. Look, 1, 2, 3. That's a lovely line there.
Looks great. Great face as well, all balanced. Fantastic.
And it's important to make sure that there's enough space and soil between the rocks to give the plants the best possible chance to grow.
Oh, that's pretty good, that.
Looks lovely.
2.5 tonne in the ground.
Yeah, Dave, that's great. 2.5 tonne in, 2.5 tonne still to go.
Having grown up here, the Cumbrian landscape has been a constant source of comfort to all the pines, especially over the last few years.
Creating a garden which reflects the rugged countryside and yet reminds the family of everything that it holds dear is a tough challenge. I just hope that we're up to it.
We're hard at work building a garden for the Pines, an inspirational family who recently lost their 17-year-old daughter Alice to cancer. Her determination in the face of the disease made her famous around the world, and Vicky, Simon and younger sister Millie are continuing the charity work she started.
Alice's Escapes is a charity that Alice and her family set up last year to give terminally and seriously ill children a chance to go away on a holiday.
The charity bought a caravan last year. It just allows the charity to give families a bit of time away from home, really.
Vicky and Simon and Millie as well, they're all absolutely dedicated that every family with a seriously ill child should be able to have an Alice's Escapes holiday.
While the rugged Cumbrian countryside is the driving force for our design, that does mean choosing plants that will thrive in this environment. And at nearby Hazelwood Farm, the choice of planting adds to the wild, natural feel and complements the colours and form of the rocks.
One of the most important things to remember in gardening is right plant, right place. And alpines and rock plants tend to like really bright light and good drainage, which is why things like this purple-leaved sedum here with its succulent leaves, and the plant whose name gives it away, the rock rose, Helianthemum, are really happy here. But lower down, in a dark and shady corner, use ferns as fillers, because they love the cold and the damp.
A rock garden can be composed of different sizes of hard materials, from large boulders and rocks to smaller pebbles and scree, so it's good to keep in mind a sense of scale when it comes to your planting.
Don't imagine that if you've got a rock garden, all your plants have to be ground-hugging creepers. When you get higher up and the beds get wider, deeper, you can grow taller things. They look quite natural there, and they bring great flashes of light. This eryngium here is a biennial. Sow the seeds one year and they'll flower the next. Its common name is Miss Wilmot's ghost, because a famous gardener, Miss Wilmot, used to sprinkle seeds in all the gardens she went to, and it would make its ghostly appearance the year after she'd gone. And the brightness here from the white and the cerise is the catchfly. Lichnis coronaria, bringing brilliance at waist level to your rock garden. It just goes to prove that you need to use your plants to work with your natural materials rather than against them.
Hey girls, Alan may not be here, but he's always watching.
Yes, time to head back, I think. Katie and Francis are starting work on the area between the paved terrace and the dry stone wall.
This is one of the largest beds in the garden, and it's about 5 metres long, and in its deepest point, it's probably about 4, so it's a really huge bed, so it's going to need lots of plants. It's also a really key focal point in the garden because it's the first thing you see as you come out of the back door, and it's the bed that you will enjoy when sitting on the patio on an evening. So it needs real impact. Now, it is in sun now, but it does get shade for most of the day, this bed, so I'm planting lots of things that will love that, like ferns and hostas. Alan has asked me to make this border as natural looking as possible and to really tie in with the Cumbrian landscape. So to do this, I've got lots of grasses, and I'm going to kind of throw out the rule book, really, because we do talk about, as garden designers, putting your tall things at the back and your small things at the front, but that's not how it works in nature. I'm going to put some of these taller things, like this lovely Dischampsia, at the front, where it's really soft and it's got this gorgeous texture, and it also catches the light beautifully. I'm going to pop these epimedium down here because these like to creep and they'll really make themselves at home in amongst all these patio corners and crevices. And I really hope when Alan gets back, he likes what I've done and it looks like it's been here forever.
With areas of the garden starting to come together, it might be an idea